Hi there. It's July the 21st and we're continuing our progress through the book of 2nd Chronicles. We've seen that Solomon is preparing the building of the temple of the house of God, and he's gathering all of the materials for it, and Huram, the king of Tyre, has sent him a skilled man whose name is also Huram, and Huram is putting together many of the vessels and the furnishings of the temple. And so chapter 4, we're in 4, 5 and 6 today. Chapter 4 opens with the making of the brass altar, and then there's also an incredible sea or a wash basin, a huge wash basin. It's hard to call it a wash basin. It's about 40 feet round in diameter, and it holds 15,000 gallons of water for the washing. So it's a really major piece of furniture in the temple, or rather in the temple courts. And then there are the making also of the menorahs and the tables. There's 10 tables, there's 10 menorahs. There's not just one, but there are many, and they're made of gold, and they're amazing works of art. And then there are also the great pillars that are standing up that we mentioned, Yachin and Boaz, which Huram makes, and these are all put in place gradually. And there's much work is going on. Eventually, all of this fine work, this fine craftsmanship is in place. And it's time in chapter 5 for the Ark of the Covenant to be brought into the new temple. Now remember that the Ark of the Covenant was placed by David in a tent in the city of David in Zion, and there it stayed. But now it's time to bring it into the temple, which was built on the threshing floor of Ornan, the place where the plague had been stayed, where God showed David that he should build the temple. And so this is where it's been built, this amazing building. And the Ark of the Covenant is brought up by the Levites, all done very properly now. There's not going to be a repeat of the mistakes made where Uzzah died. The Levites are bringing it up, and they place it in the temple under the wings, of this great cherubim, these great cherubim that are there, these great angels, angelic figures that are covering over the whole Ark of the Covenant behind the veil. And it says that within the ark there is just the laws of Moses, the tablets of Moses are the only thing that are in the ark. And so the ark is placed in its place. And it says that when the ark is put in its place, at the end of chapter 5, it says that the presence of the Lord comes in such a way that the priests are not able to stand to perform their service. It's the sign that God is going to be in this place. And in chapter 6, there's an amazing prayer of Solomon. Solomon has a great platform built in the temple courts, and he is addressing God on behalf of the nation. It says on top of this this scaffolding, this platform, he kneels before the Lord and he spreads out his hands, and having blessed the Lord, he then calls upon God and he says, God, I know that you live in unapproachable darkness, that you are not able to be perceived fully. Nevertheless, let this be this place that you've called to be built. Let this be the place where you meet with your people. Not only that, he says, but when Israel have sinned, or when they're in need, or when they're in danger, if they come to this place, or if they pray towards this place, Lord, will you hear them? Not only Israel, but Solomon also says when anyone comes from the nations to this place, anyone who's not a Hebrew, not Israelite, not Jewish, comes to this place and they call upon you, will you hear them also? And so there's this amazing calling upon God, which is on the basis of the covenant. It's on the basis of what God has promised. It's not because they see themselves as being important, but because God has made this promise. And in fact, at the end of chapter 5, the singers and the trumpeters, as they celebrate, they're singing the refrain of Israel, the favourite song of Israel, Hodul Adonai ki tov ki la'olam chasdo. Give thanks to the Lord, he is good, because his hesed, his covenant obligation, his grace that can never fail, goes on forever. It is unlimited. It's an amazing part of the story of Israel that here they have established themselves. They're a nation before God. They're led by godly leaders, and here they give themselves into the service of God. And He comes and He presences Himself in the midst, which is what God wants to do with His people. God doesn't want to stay away. God wants to be with them fully, and when He comes, His full gravity is so powerful, His presence is so powerful, that they can't even stand upright to minister to Him in His presence, but are forced to go down on their faces flat out before the Lord, which is the Hebrew word for worship, is actually to go flat out before the Lord. Let us then, like them, give ourselves wholeheartedly to the worship of God. Let us go flat out before Him, constantly worshipping this God who is the maker of heaven and earth. Have a very good July the 21st.